Natasha.
Debbie, the show. We know you said it with us.
We hope you said it with us. We're doing the YouTube thing, guys. Yeah, you're doing it with us. The YouTube thing.
We are YouTubing.
Yeah, we're YouTubing today.
I have a feeling you're like, have your song in your head.
Oh, like you.
I wonder what song.
All we hear is radio.
You were gonna clap with me.
Hey guys, welcome to the show. Glad to have you here. And if you are here, we only know if you hit the like button. Otherwise, we have to send a whole search and rescue party out for you.
We do. And another great thing would be to consider subscribing. It's absolutely free.
So I'll tell you that every video.
And if you haven't checked out Natasha on Instagram yet.
YouTube? I'm on YouTube right now.
I know, we're right here on Instagram, Natasha.
You'll see a lot of me. A little extra.
Natasha has
There's things there.
There's things.
Moving on. We're also on Patreon. Take a look at that too. I don't know. Anyway, so there's a video that our dear friend Reese, we mentioned him a lot because Reese sends us a lot of videos from Patreon.
Mm-hmm.
Reese is great.
And thank you, Reese.
You're awesome, Reese. He sent us this video not too long ago. And this is something actually I have thought about before. And I'm sorry, what is the video?
The video is how World War II rationing shaped Britain.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like it has quite a bit, obviously, but how, I don't know, and hence why we're here for this episode. I think this would be a place in the comments, too, to find out your guys' perspective on this, no matter what they're saying, just to hear your sides of things and how directly that may have affected you even now. I think that's affected every country, right, since then? I think that kind of led from here to more processed crap.
Probably.
I think it was a downfall, and in some ways, it might have already, it wasn't really happening until after, I think, in the 50s is when a lot of that stuff, late 40s, early 50s.
Really kicked in then.
Yeah, I think that's what happened here. So I'm not sure if that's exactly what happened, but I'm going with it.
It seems to make sense that that would be what
the timeline's right.
It definitely is.
But anyway, so, it's a big deal, of course, but we don't know how much this really affected you and what it did to actually shape Britain. So that's what we're going to find out right now.
Powdered eggs, carrot fudge, and potato flour.
Carrot fudge?
These are just some of the bizarre food inventions that kept Britain's home front going during the Second World War. But why did British families have to make these unusual substitutions? And how did the entire country pull together to keep the nation fed under the pressure of wartime rationing?
When the Second World War broke out in 1939, the UK was importing over 20 million tonnes of food a year. This dependency made the country extremely vulnerable to attacks on its supply lines. Germany aimed to exploit this weakness by cutting off the sea routes that brought food into Britain, hoping to starve the nation into submission. Protecting cargo ships from enemy U-boats and destroyers became a matter of life and death during the Battle of the Atlantic. Those who sailed these routes risked everything to bring essential supplies to the UK, leaving no room for luxuries. Anything that couldn't be produced...
If you weren't going to pause it, I was going to.
Yeah, that's something that you don't really think about.
I knew you were going to say what I was thinking.
Having to have things imported and depending on that, and then not being able to have it.
I was just thinking of all the different things going on during the war. There's so many different things happening, right? And all the different, boats, warships, things like that out there. And it's I wasn't thinking that as one of the things that was going on.
Yeah, that some of the food might be coming in, and then just
the
people.
So I forget the UK is an island. I always forget about the island part of it.
And then too, think about it. You're shipping your import-export of goods, and you're not expecting to be targeted in the war. Necessarily.
I agree. That's why you're back.
To the UK, leaving no room for luxuries. Anything that couldn't be produced at home quickly became scarce, and many staple foods disappeared from shelves altogether.
I wonder what things couldn't be produced.
By the summer of 1939, 50 million ration books had been printed, ready to be used when needed.
Wow.
Before the war, what you ate in Britain depended a lot on your social class or income. By 1936, when the government first started thinking about rationing, middle-class families were eating around 3,100 calories a day, whereas working-class families consumed closer to 2,500.
Wow,
the hardships caused by the Great Depression in the 1930s also meant that some people were already struggling to feed their families. Rationing helped even the playing field.
Rationing was introduced to make sure that everyone had a fair share of items that were hard to get hold of. By controlling what people could buy and allocating foodstuffs based on calorie intake and vitamin requirements, everyone would have broadly the same healthy diet. This contrasted with the rationing system in Germany, for example, where there were often larger rations for a specific class at the expense of others. In September 1939, a fully fledged Ministry of Food came into being, headed first by William Morrison and later more famously by Lord Walton. On National Registration Day, 29th of September 1939, every householder was required to complete a form listing all the people living in their home.
God, can you imagine how scary that would be?
Extremely.
You know, you've seen the soup kitchens here and stuff. People lined up, the men lining up and trying to get work when the Great Depression happened here.
Yep.
And that stuff was horrible. My dad grew up in that time period.
So did my stepdad. And to think of being a parent at that time and thinking about how you're going to feed your family, especially with young children.
You just reminded me of the movie Cinderella Man with Russell Crowe. I love that movie. And yeah, it's just a horrible time, a scary time. And I couldn't imagine sitting there filling out cards for my family members to know that we're about to not get a lot of stuff. Yeah. I don't think we'd really do well with that today.
The Ministry of Food was responsible for maintaining adequate supplies and ensuring that food was distributed fairly and sold at reasonable prices. The ministry worked in cooperation with the Ministry of Agriculture on questions of home supply, with the Treasury, which financed all purchases and operations, and with the Ministry of War Transport, which supplied the shipping to bring food from overseas.
Okay.
On the 1st of November 1939, it was announced that food rationing was going to be introduced in the UK.
Yes.
Ration books began to be distributed a week or so after the announcement, and in January 1940, rationing officially started nationwide.
This is the Child's Rationing Book, issued by the Ministry of Food on 8th of July 1940.
That's what I heard.
Everyone was issued with a rationing book like this one, and each person had to be registered with a specific butcher, milkman and greengrocer to ensure that numbers were spread out evenly and supply and demand could be anticipated so that shops didn't go short. In turn, the shopkeepers were reliant on specific wholesalers. Rationing was also adapted to people's needs, with different coloured ration books for different groups. Brown for most adults, green for expectant mothers and under fives, and blue for older children. The government gave allowances such as extra cheese for manual workers, added meat and dairy for pregnant women, priority milk and vitamins for children, protein swaps for diabetics and vegetarians, and larger meat, tea and sugar rations for soldiers. When buying items, you would hand over your ration book, and each rationed item would be paid for with money, usually set at a subsidised rate by the government. A corresponding coupon in the ration book would be crossed out or removed, so that they could not be reused. The idea of fairness, regardless of social class, went all the way to the top. With even Her Majesty Queen Mary, mother of King George VI, being issued with this very ration card.
I did not see that coming.
No, that's shocking.
I mean, it makes sense, right? God, wouldn't she be kind of hated had she not, right? You know what I mean?
Right?
Like, what the hell? Sitting in your palace up there eating.
Yeah.
Like, that would have been, like, pretty bad. So it should have been that way, but yeah, it just, I don't know, just didn't expect to hear it right off the bat like that.
No.
Kind of got me a little stressed.
I hope all definitely included everyone else too.
Yeah, not just her as a, hey, look.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear you. Good one, good one.
The introduction of rationing meant British families on the home front suddenly had to make do with much less, and the government put in place strict limits. Everyone had to obey.
The weekly ration allowances were tiny. The British public were limited to just 4 ounces of bacon or ham, roughly
week?
2 thin slices, along with 12 ounces of sugar and 4 ounces of butter.
That's nothing.
Meat was added to the ration list on the 11th of March 1940. But unlike other foods, it was not measured by weight. Instead, families were given a spending limit. It began at 1 shilling and 10 pence a week, but after several changes, it was reduced to 1 shilling and 2pence on 7th of July 1941, a rate that stayed in place for the rest of the war. As shortages
Did he say
grew,
tuppence?
That's what I heard.
What's a tuppence? Is that a pence?
Please tell us.
Is that a pence? Tuppence? Sorry, I just got stuck on that phrase.
A rate that stayed in place for the rest of the war. As shortages grew, more essentials were added. Cooking fats and tea were rationed from July 1940, with tea limited to just 2 ounces a week. Preserves were added in March 1941, and cheese followed in May 1941.
Wow.
Ration books, however, were not the only things the British public had to navigate. The government also introduced a points system in December 1941. This system covered tinned meats, fish and beans. It was later expanded to include cereals, dried fruits and vegetable pulses, biscuits, some types of preserves, suet, jellies and canned sweet puddings. Everyone was given 16 points for every 4-week period. However, a single tin of baked beans cost 2 points, and a pound of raisins or sultanas took 8.
That's a lot.
Meaning points rarely stretched far. As more foods were added, the government increased the allowance to 24 points, before reducing it again to 20 points in May 1945.
Wow.
Unlike normal rationing, people did not have to register with a specific shop. Points food could be bought anywhere, and the system could change every 4 weeks depending on supply. The allowances and even the points value of food themselves were constantly adjusted to match wartime shortages.
I wonder if there was any sort of like selling of points. You know, people do some strange things, like prohibition here. That went well. You know, when alcohol was outlawed and whatnot. And there was a lot of weird illegal things happening, but I'm guessing not either. I really have a big question I've been holding off, and I said it earlier just for a moment, but I keep thinking about it. What things could Britain not make or grow or whatever on its own that you guys needed so badly? I just don't know. I don't know. So I feel like you have, you know, a lot of stuff that you don't really need to get from the outside, but I know you're an island at the same time, so I just, in my head, I don't know what the day-to-day stuff is that is grown there.
Maybe it's just the quantity that they needed.
That's what yeah. I don't know. Just let me know.
The system therefore proved more flexible, but also more unreliable at times.
Rationing shaped everyday life in ways big and small. Even with ration books in hand, shortages were constant. And when deliveries finally arrived, it was often a race. First come, first served. Housewives queued the moment word spread that a shop had something in stock. In fact, queues became so common that people would join one automatically, even if they didn't know what it was for.
Makes me
Fresh
sad.
foods were especially scarce. Eggs and milk were frequently replaced by powdered versions. Families mixed the powders with water, whisking and stirring until they resembled the real thing. It wasn't perfect, but in wartime Britain, it had to do.
Adapt.
Yes, you do.
Rationing transformed how food was made. As ingredients became scarce, manufacturers had to adapt. By 1941, chocolate companies could no longer use fresh milk, so the famous Cadbury's Dairy milk bars were replaced with the new version known as ration chocolate, made with dried skimmed milk powder instead. In IWM's collections, we hold an original bar of Cadbury's ration chocolate, a rare reminder of what wartime treats really looked like.
Damn.
It wasn't just food that was rationed either. During the Second World War, Britain changed how it travelled, dressed and ate together on the home front. Petrol was immediately rationed from September 1939. Drivers were limited to enough fuel for roughly 200 miles a month. And as the war tightened its grip, only those with special permits could buy petrol at all. Clothing followed soon after, with imports falling and huge quantities of fabric diverted into uniforms, parachutes and other military kit. The government suddenly announced clothes rationing on the 1st of June 1941.
Damn.
I never would have thought clothes rationing on top of
That makes sense.
else.
I didn't know that either, but make that into uniforms and stuff. You have to.
the petrol. Definitely makes sense.
Huh. Okay.
It's literally everything.
Yeah, your entire life was rationed. Let's just call it what it is. That is hardcore. Wow.
Overnight, everyone received 66 coupons to last the whole year.
What?
But with a raincoat costing 16, a dress 11, and a pair of shoes up to 7, it didn't take long before people realised they'd have to get creative.
The Make, Do and Mend campaign cheerfully encouraged families to repair and rework the clothes they already had. Thousands joined in clothes exchange schemes where children's outgrown trousers and dresses could be swapped for the next size up. At the same time, the government introduced utility clothing, simple, well-designed outfits made from approved fabrics. They were reliable, affordable, and made to last, helping stretch precious materials a little further.
I've never heard that before.
Fashion even slimmed down for the war effort. Narrower lapels, fewer pleats, no trouser turn-ups, and even army battle dress cut
Makes
shorter
sense.
to save
It does.
every scrap of cloth.
Never thought.
Eating out also changed tone. From May 1942, restaurants could serve only 3-course meals, and only one of those courses could contain meat or fish, with strict price caps to keep meals affordable. To help the public even further, local authorities opened around 2,000 British restaurants in halls and schools across the country, offering simple 3-course meals for just 9 pence and no ration coupons needed.
Nice.
These community restaurants kept families fed, especially in areas affected by
Those
bomb
sound like
damage.
very important things.
Although not everything was rationed, many everyday items still changed character. Bread remained unrationed but switched to the national loaf, a dense grey wholemeal variety that wasn't anyone's favourite but reliably filled bellies. Fish wasn't rationed either, though it became more expensive and harder to cook well because frying oil was limited. Still, it meant that Britain's beloved fish and chips survived the war, even if it tasted a little different. Beer grew weaker, cigarettes became harder to find, and even soap was rationed. 4 coupons a month for a single bar.
I don't get that.
Fresh veg was never rationed, but it was often in short supply. So Britain rolled up its sleeves and launched the famous Dig for Victory campaign. Back gardens, allotments, window boxes, schoolyards, even public parks were transformed into vegetable patches.
I was sitting here wondering how many people like had their own little like farm areas or plot lands or whatever it may be, you know, planting their own stuff. I certainly would try if I had the space. But even you said like windows, right?
Yeah.
Wow, that's smart. Wouldn't think of that. But
Yeah, do some window boxes, pots.
yeah.
But then also you have to think, are people stealing those? Or they,
I don't know.
you know,
Yeah. I don't
was
know.
that a thing?
I'm thinking not. I'm thinking
hope
probably
not.
most people were understanding of each other and not doing those things.
Yeah. Hey, I'll grow this if you grow that. Well,
Yeah,
sure.
who knows? Maybe neighborhoods got together and, you know.
That's a
that'd be-
nice thought, isn't it?
I hope it happened.
Posters, films, and radio programs cheered people along, with Dr. Carrot and Potato Pete becoming wartime celebrities,
Dr. Carrot.
encouraging children to eat their greens. The BBC's Kitchen Front served up practical tips each morning, and cinemas showed fast-paced food flashes before feature films. And with
Food
meat
flash.
scarce, cooks embraced dishes like Walton pie, described as steak and kidney pie without the steak and kidney, making the most of homegrown veg instead. Wasting food was also strictly forbidden.
What would think?
One food flash warned that if every family wastes only half a slice of bread every day, then that's the equivalent of wasting enough bread to feed the population of the UK, then about 45 million people, for a whole week.
Damn.
Planning meals became key, and juggling ingredients to make sure that they lasted the week became essential.
Wow, that'd be really hard.
Wartime recipe sheets and tips were published by the government to help households make tasty meals with basic ingredients. With the lack of staple cooking ingredients, people had to find creative ways to substitute them with more readily available foods. Parsnips, beetroot, and carrots were used to bulk out cakes and add the natural sweetness that was lacking due to having little refined sugar.
Okay.
Jam and carrot sponge, for example, became a popular wartime dish. And there were even recipes to make fudge out of carrots and orange squash.
No, thank you.
Through it all,
No.
the home front managed not just to endure, but to stay determined, inventive, and surprisingly cheerful. Britain made thrift a shared effort and found a sense of pride in pulling together. This national determination also did not waver when it came to celebrations. Rationing had a large impact on traditions like Christmas, birthdays, and wedding feasts in wartime.
Of course.
Associations, local communities, and workplaces would often sponsor pigs, for example, so that there would be fresh meat available for a Christmas roast. Families would also pool resources together, particularly eggs, butter, and sugar for cakes. By scrimping and
Not
saving,
vegetables, but still.
items could be stored up for a larger feast later.
Wedding cakes could not be as large as pre-war. and there was no icing available during the rationing era. Cake toppers, such as these here, were made using card, ribbon, and floral garlands.
That's beautiful, though.
That is.
These would have been placed over the more modest fruit cake to provide decoration and spectacle. They were even reused on occasion by other newlyweds during the...
I have to say, that's pretty ingenious.
I love that.
Pretty smart. I love that you're...
I like that better than the way the cakes look now. I'm not kidding, I do. I think that's more beautiful.
And you don't like icing anyway, but...
I hate icing.
Cake without icing?
Sugar.
I don't know about that.
That's really smart.
era. Improvised wedding cake decorations like these embodied the wartime ethos of make do and mend. They also highlighted the very real effects of sugar rationing on daily life, with even the most traditional treats having to be reimagined in the face of scarcity.
Despite the people's ingenuity, there were many attempts to get around rationing in Second World War Britain. The notorious black market increasingly emerged as the war and restrictions
Because it happens
continued.
everywhere, all the time.
Across the black market, rationed items were illegally sold to people for cash with no coupons. However, these items were often diverted from the usual distribution channels by unscrupulous workers, or sold directly to criminals by farmers, hoping for a larger profit than that from selling goods to the government. Goods were also stolen from shops or warehouses, or smuggled in by criminal individuals or gangs. These criminals were known as spivs, and are often portrayed as lovable rogues who were just helping people in need, such as Private Walker in Dad's Army. In reality, by stealing and selling rationed items, they were denying those who really needed the items, and overcharging those who could afford to pay. There was also ration book fraud, the most common being keeping and using a ration book from a relative who had recently died. Others would claim they had lost their book to get replacements, or steal a ration book and scrub off the name and put their own. The government passed laws which enabled courts to fine those dealing in the black market £500, a huge sum at the time. Ration books were carefully recorded and names and addresses had to match completely, or a shopkeeper couldn't take it. No one wanted to lose their license. However, even the most law-abiding citizen was able to turn a blind eye to a little entrepreneurship in return for an extra egg or bottle of whiskey.
I'm sure.
Victory in 1945 did not bring an end to rationing. Far from it. On the 27th of May 1945, barely 3 weeks after VE Day, cuts were made to the basic ration. Bacon went down from 4 ounces to 3 ounces, cooking fat from 2 ounces to just 1, and part of the meagre meat ration of 1 shilling 2 pence had to be made up of corned beef.
What?
That surprises me that after the war's over that
that's what I'm trying to understand.
they get even more cuts.
Yeah.
Even with meat, butter and cheese from New Zealand and Australia easing some of the restrictions, the withdrawal of American financial support and subsidies meant that Britain still could not afford to import food at pre-war levels after 1945. Britain was also sending supplies into war-torn Europe, as there were millions of displaced people who were starving. The terrible wet summer of 1946 and the hard frost of early 1947 devastated the wheat harvest and ruined much of the stored potato crop, forcing Britain to ration bread and potatoes for the first time.
Wow.
In the years of post-war austerity, the British public were treated to the dubious pleasures of whale and horse meat as substitute for scarce traditional cuts.
I know that.
Sweets also briefly came off ration in April 1949, but the rush of children to the shops caused shortages so severe that rationing was reinstated in August 1949 and remained until 1953.
Jeez!
Wow, that's a long time.
On top of food, the allocation of clothing points also declined towards the end of the war. Until the end of 1945, only 24 coupons were issued instead of 66. In our collection, we have a coupon book from 1947. This specific book is for women's stockings, showing just how severe clothing shortages remained in the post-war years. During the war, women had already resorted to creative solutions, such as painting their legs with gravy or makeup, or simply braving going bare-legged. They continued to bear the brunt of restrictions on fashion until the 15th of March 1949, when Britain finally de-rationed clothing.
By the late 1940s, Public frustration was bubbling over. Years after
Sure.
victory had been declared, people were still queuing, still making do, and still living under the shadow of rationing and austerity. What had once been accepted as a patriotic wartime necessity now felt increasingly intolerable. And anger over continued shortages became a powerful force in the 1950 and 1951 elections.
The legacy of wartime rationing left an indelible mark on British food and culture. As well as ensuring fairness for all, rationing actually improved the health of British people. Infant mortality declined and life expectancy rose. This was because it ensured that everyone had access to a varied diet with enough vitamins. People were consuming less fat and much less sugar, while milk and fibre consumption increased. People smoked and drank less. Petrol rationing meant people walked or cycled more. Obesity was becoming a rarity. The new National Health Service, created in the immediate post-war years, continued to ensure allocation of milk, orange juice, cod liver oil, and vitamin supplements for pregnant and
Cod
nursing.
liver oil, so gross. I actually was hoping that they would tell us about some of the foods that were, created in that. Like, is not toad in the hole? Am I wrong? Is that not something that was brought about because of rationing? I thought so. Stuff like that I thought maybe were.
Maybe.
I thought he might go into that a little bit. If I'm wrong, please do let me know. I don't know.
Mothers and for growing children. The health of the nation was ensured for a generation. However, the austerity of the post-war years resulted in a continued frugality in the country's approach to cooking. British cooking's reputation for being bland and uninteresting persisted for many years to come.
No, this is not true.
At long last, on the 30th of June 1954, the final restriction was lifted
54.
when meat came off the ration.
Crazy.
With that,
Damn.
Britain could finally declare the era of rationing over. The UK was the very last country to abandon its wartime rationing system, almost a full decade after the Second World War had ended.
The length of time that went on after the war was the biggest shock to me.
Yes,
I had
that was.
no idea. Now again, I was born like some 40 years after World War II was over. So yeah, I have no personal knowledge. My mom was born during it, and I know my grandma made her clothes. She sewed her clothes and my aunt's clothes, made them. Things like that. They had books too and things as well.
Yeah.
I don't know a whole lot more about it.
It was so much more common back then, at least like my mom and everybody, to make their own clothes.
Yeah.
And I think the thing that shocked me was about the stockings, and that women were painting their legs.
Gravy? Did he say they were
He
using
said
gravy?
gravy.
I mean, the color, yeah, I get it. It doesn't, yeah.
That makes me wonder, is that how self-tanner came to be?
I don't know if that's how self-tanner came to be.
Maybe that's why somebody invented self-tanner.
I mean, it's possible. I mean, yeah, but I'm not surprised that people were doing black market stuff because that happens. Someone's always there to take advantage of the situation, and that's unfortunate. But I did think this was incredibly important to watch. It really does give you history that you need to know when learning about the UK. And, you guys did really pull up your sleeves and go to work together.
The whole country.
Yeah, because it takes that. It takes that. And I can't imagine how hard that would be. I really just can't, and I'm glad I don't have to, at least not so far. Yeah, my mass respect as always, UK. Mass respect. Hey, if you guys enjoyed watching this or learned something from this video, as we did a lot, please hit the like button, consider subscribing to the channel. And it's just, you have to learn more and more. We have to learn more and more, and I always want to go back and know the things that matter. Let me know about like toad in the hole. I really thought that had to do with rationing, and I thought there was other foods that came about during this time period. And I had hoped, like I said, that there'd be some of that in this video, but just let me know. And hey, guess what? We'll see you on the next episode. Until then, and as always, guys, please love like jazz.
Be as strong as Tyson.
Bye.